The world watched, transfixed by the unfolding drama, as news of the crisis spread across continents and into living rooms. After days of mounting tension, Japan released Chinese captain Zheng Nianli, ending a tense standoff that had gripped two nations and drawn global attention. News tickers blared, "Japan frees Chinese captain." The headlines flashed in every major city, sparking heated debates and anxious speculation. But this was no simple resolution, just a pause in a deeper conflict, a temporary calm before the next storm. Captain Zheng, the fisherman at the center of the storm, was heading home, but the questions lingered in the air, unresolved and unsettling. The fragile balance of power in the East China Sea was exposed for all to see, as rival patrols continued to shadow each other in contested waters. In Tokyo, the release felt like surrender. In Beijing, it was a triumph, a moment of national pride and vindication. Zheng became a symbol, hailed as a hero in China, condemned as a lawbreaker in Japan. His image was splashed across front pages, fueling both outrage and celebration. His freedom didn't bring peace. It revealed the region's dangerous fault lines, where old grievances and new ambitions collide. What began as a minor incident spiraled into a test of wills between two global powers, each unwilling to back down. The arrest shocked the world, a bold assertion of Japanese authority in contested waters, and a reminder of how quickly disputes can escalate. China responded with protests and economic threats, putting Japan in a bind and raising the stakes for both governments. Now, with Zheng's return, the immediate crisis is over, but the scars remain, etched into the memories of both nations. Nationalist sentiment has hardened on both sides, fueling a new wave of suspicion and determination. The world wonders, will this be a wake-up call for dialogue or a preview of future conflict? Diplomats and analysts debate what comes next. The East China Sea remains turbulent, peace hanging by a thread as rival ships patrol the choppy waters, each side watching the other with wary eyes. This was never just about one man. It's about pride, territory, and the future of Asia, with every move watched by the world. The incident has left both nations more suspicious, more resolute, and more determined to defend their claims. The next chapter is unwritten, but the risks are clear. The world waits, uncertain of what the future holds. The fate of peace in Asia is as uncertain as a fishing boat in a storm, tossed by forces far beyond its control. The world holds its breath, waiting for what comes next, as the echoes of this crisis ripple far beyond the East China Sea. It began as a routine patrol, just like countless others before it, with Japanese Coast Guard ships quietly slicing through the calm waters. Their mission took them into the East China Sea, a region known for its beauty and its volatility. On this particular morning, Japanese Coast Guard vessels spotted a Chinese fishing trawler operating near the disputed Senkaku, or Diaoyu Islands. These waters are not only rich in fish and natural resources, but also simmering with unresolved tension between nations. As per protocol, the Japanese moved in to inspect the vessel, a procedure they had carried out many times before without incident. But this time, something was different. Captain Zheng, at the helm of the trawler, refused to comply with orders to stop. Instead, the trawler made sudden evasive maneuvers, and in the chaos, collided with the Japanese patrol ship. Not once, but twice, escalating the situation dramatically. To Japanese authorities, this was no accident. It was seen as a bold and deliberate act of defiance. What began as a routine inspection had now transformed into a tense, high-stakes standoff at sea. The Japanese issued repeated warnings over loudspeakers, but the trawler ignored them and attempted to escape at full speed. A second patrol boat quickly arrived on the scene, flanking the Minjinyu 5179 and cutting off any route of escape. Japanese officers then boarded the trawler and arrested Captain Zheng, charging him with obstruction of official duties. His crew was also detained for questioning, their fate uncertain as tensions mounted. Unlike previous encounters, this time Japan made the unprecedented decision to prosecute the captain under Japanese law. The message was clear. Japan intended to enforce its sovereignty over these contested waters, no matter the cost. Captain Zheng was transported under heavy guard to Ishigaki Island, a move that instantly set off a diplomatic firestorm between Tokyo and Beijing. What started as a seemingly minor maritime encounter now threatened to spiral into a full-blown regional crisis, with both sides refusing to back down. The world's attention quickly shifted to these contested waters, as headlines blared and analysts warned of the risks of escalation. In a matter of hours, a single collision had set two powerful nations on a dangerous collision course, with the eyes of the world watching every move. The Japanese Coast Guard saw their actions as law enforcement, not provocation. The Senkaku Islands, under Japanese control, were their responsibility to protect. When the Chinese trawler refused orders and rammed their vessel, it crossed a line. The arrest was meant as a deterrent, a signal that Japanese law would be upheld. For Tokyo, this was about sovereignty and pushing back against China's growing presence. The government framed the arrest as a legal matter, not a political one. But in these contested waters, law and politics are inseparable. By prosecuting Zheng, Japan drew a clear line: no more tolerance for incursions. The message was simple: sovereignty is not negotiable. The world saw a new, firmer stance from Japan. The stage was set for a major diplomatic showdown. Captain Zheng's arrest triggered a diplomatic crisis, sending shockwaves through both nations and igniting a fierce debate over territorial rights in the East China Sea. China demanded his immediate release, calling the arrest a violation of sovereignty and warning of serious consequences if their demands were ignored. Beijing escalated, suspending high-level talks, halting rare earth exports crucial for Japanese industries, and canceling group tours to Japan, signaling a willingness to use economic leverage. The economic pressure was real. Japan's largest trading partner was turning the screws, threatening vital supply chains and business confidence. Prime Minister Kun faced domestic calls to stand firm and defend national interests, but the cost was mounting, with public anxiety growing and political tensions rising. The U.S. reaffirmed its security treaty with Japan, but urged restraint, emphasizing the need for dialogue and caution to avoid escalation. The standoff became an international crisis, testing alliances, drawing in global attention, and threatening regional stability in ways not seen for years. Tokyo was caught between national pride and economic reality, struggling to balance its sovereignty with the risks to its economy and international reputation. The world watched, anxious for a peaceful resolution, as headlines dominated news cycles and uncertainty rippled through financial markets. The pressure on Japan to find a way out was immense, with every option carrying significant risks and potential fallout. Every move was scrutinized, every word weighed, as both sides maneuvered carefully in the diplomatic arena. The stakes were higher than ever. One misstep could trigger disaster, with military forces on alert and the world holding its breath. The crisis exposed the limits of diplomacy under pressure, revealing just how fragile peace could be when national interests collide. The region held its breath, waiting for the next move, as uncertainty lingered in the air and daily life felt suspended. The outcome would shape Asia's future, setting the tone for regional relations and the balance of power for years to come. This clash was rooted in history. For China, memories of Japanese aggression run deep, fueling anger and suspicion. The islands became vital after oil was discovered nearby in the 1960s. Both sides hardened their claims, turning rocks into symbols of national pride. Past incidents were handled quietly, but prosecuting Zheng marked a new, tougher approach from Japan. The emotional intensity of the standoff was shaped by old wounds and new ambitions. For Japan, it was about upholding the post-war order. For China, about righting historical wrongs. Two ships collided, but so did two powerful narratives. The past was never far from the surface. The media in both countries fueled the fire. In China, Zheng was a hero, Japan the aggressor. State media rallied public anger, demanding his release. In Japan, footage of the collision justified the arrest and stoked fears of Chinese assertiveness. Each side saw itself as the victim, the other as the provocateur. The media shaped public opinion, hardening positions on both sides. Nationalism surged, making compromise harder. The information war was as fierce as the diplomatic one. Nationalism spilled into the streets. In China, massive anti-Japanese protests erupted, targeting embassies and businesses. The government let anger boil, using it as leverage, but risked losing control. In Japan, public opinion hardened, fueling calls for a stronger defense. The release of Zheng was seen as a victory in China, a humiliation in Japan. Both nations emerged more suspicious, more resolute. The incident reshaped national identities and deepened mistrust. Pride had been wounded on both sides. The diplomatic fallout was matched by a psychological one. The scars would not heal quickly. Zheng's release didn't solve the dispute. The sovereignty question remains as bitter as ever. Both sides have increased patrols, creating a constant standoff. The risk of another incident is dangerously high. No agreed rules exist for managing these encounters. Every interaction is a test of will, a potential flashpoint. The arms race in the region has accelerated. The East China Sea remains a tinderbox. The freedom of one captain only highlighted the fragility of peace. The dispute endures, unresolved and volatile. The standoff is a warning and a lesson. Open communication is essential to prevent future crises. Both nations must respect international law and seek peaceful solutions. Restraint and pragmatic diplomacy are needed, not brinkmanship. Building trust, even in small ways, can ease tensions. The dispute may not end soon, but it can be managed. The choice is clear dialogue or confrontation. The future of Asia depends on which path they choose.